So Little Red Riding Hood's not a princess, and actually, I mean, she's stupid. Don't get me wrong. She is not a thinker. She can be a thinker. There are actually whole stories where she thinks in other cultures, Chinese culture particularly, but in the German and Western European ones, she gets what she gets. But it's also a lot worse. We really cleanse and sanitize the stories for our kids, and our kids have no idea. I knew a little bit of it before I went, took this fairy tale class in college, but I didn't know how extensive the adult conspiracy to keep children childlike was. And I think it really does disrupt children's ability to critically think to an extent when we remove information like that and just give them the sanitized version, because these were never meant for children, but they once we give them to children, we should be giving them the whole context, or just replace those stories with healthier role models. Either one. One of the real Red Riding Hood stories. I mean, the real Red Riding Hood story is like a paragraph. There's a girl. She talks to a wolf. She gets eaten in the end. Don't talk to strangers. I mean, there's not really even a moral tacked onto it. Just don't talk to strangers. I don't remember if it's the Grimm version or the Hans Christian Andersen version, but I think it must be the Hans Christian Andersen version because he was more fond of animals talking. There's Little Red Riding Hood. Basic setup. Her grandmother's ill. Her mother sends her through the woods on her own at however old she is, 12, cusp of puberty. Not yet, still not a girl, not yet a woman, about to discover herself. Sends her to her grandmother's house with a basket full of goodies, a bottle of wine, all the good stuff. Tells her, don't talk to strangers in the woods. And she's skipping through the forest, tra la la. Wolf pops out, says, where are you going? She goes, I'm going to my grandmother's house. She lives right there. And if you take a left and turn right at that tree and you spin around 3 times and you knock on the door in this pattern, she'll totally let you in. And the wolf says, that is good to know. There's a lot of flowers over there. You should go look. So she goes, oh, flowers. And she goes off to look at the flowers. So she's strayed from the path and she's talked to strangers, the two big no-nos. We already know she's screwed. She's going to die. The wolf gets to grandmother's house, goes in, doesn't swallow her whole. Swallowing her whole is one of those physically improbable things that parents do so they don't have to describe what he really does to the grandmother. He eats her, not all of her though. Some of her flesh he slices onto a plate and puts it on the table. He fills an empty wine bottle with her blood and stoppers it with her big toe. And he sets it all up in this dumb supper tableau and waits for Red Riding Hood to come. Already we're about 50 shades of gray darker than where we started with the regular just grandmother getting swallowed story. Red Riding Hood comes, knock, 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 open the latch, come in. I'm too sick to get out of bed. She says, hi, grandmother. And he goes, oh, well, you should come, it's cold outside. You should, take off your clothes and get into bed with me. But first, you should go have some food. And she goes, that sounds lovely. Thank you. So she goes and she eats the meat and the wine that she doesn't taste anything wrong with on the table. And for some reason, and this is really strangely off topic for the story, the grandmother's cat is watching her and calls her a slut for eating the flesh and blood of grandmother. It's just thrown in there. It never says Red Riding Hood understands what the cat's saying. It's just noted at the time that the cat makes a comment. So she eats and drinks of her grandmother, and the wolf has her take off every article of clothing separately and throw it into the fireplace because she won't need it anymore. And this doesn't ring a bell. At this point in the story, we've gone from you've already broken rules and are probably going to die to it's probably best you die now and don't procreate because this could only get worse for future generations. So she takes off all of her clothes, climbs into bed with grandmother, and then we go through my grandmother, what big eyes you have. My grandmother, what big ears you have. My grandmother, what a fine wolf pelt you have. Why, and he eats her. The end. I mean, the hunter may or may not come in, but he never saves them. The wolf is very thorough. He's very good about his digestive system. He chews his food thoroughly. You know, they're dead. The hunter may or may not come in and hear the wolf snoring and kill the wolf, but they're dead. There's no happy ending there. There's only the relief of knowing that a certain generation has been spared from a certain gene pool. The end.